Alright, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to start this lesson off by giving all the praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rakakudash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Honors to all the brothers who are firmly pushing the word in sincerity and in faith. Shalom to all the sincere believers. Now, this is going to be a quick lesson just based on, us needing to have patience. Because if we continue to have patience and we continue to endure and we continue to trust in the Lord, everything is going to work out in the best way possible for us. So, I'm going to read this. I'm going to get some precepts, and Lord's will you're edified. It says Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the thoughts that I think toward you, saith the Lord Yahweh, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you an expected end. So ultimately, the Heavenly Father is telling us that in the end, He wants to give us the kingdom. But in order to get there, we have to endure. We have to go through these trials and these tribulations, and we have to deal with all this wickedness and nonsense around us. See, for those of us of the hopeful elect, Adawan Ratazah, we are of the elect. The Lord only has thoughts of peace toward us. He wants us to endure into the end. He wants us to be stable-minded and comforted by these scriptures. He wants us to find peace and rest in Him and in His Son. That's why it says, for I know the thoughts that I think toward you, saith the Lord Yahweh, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you an expected end. And our expected end is that we're going to endure unto the end and be saved and be, granted the kingdom. That's our expected end. That's what those of us of the hopeful elect are hoping for. We're hoping that we've been chosen from the foundation of the world to endure to the end and be saved. And if we are of the elect, then that's the thoughts of that the Lord has toward us, thoughts of peace. See, when it comes to these wicked people with whom the Lord is angry with, He has thoughts of destruction upon them and misery and chaos. And that's what we are seeing play out day by day, is the Lord bringing miseries and chaos upon these wicked people with whom He's angry with. Things that these simple-minded people who don't know anything would consider to be evil. And that's the balance of the Heavenly Father. When you're doing what the Heavenly Father requires of you in righteousness, He has thoughts of peace for you. But when you're out here being wicked, then He has thoughts of, of evil towards you. He's going to bring evil upon you. He's going to send evil angels and spirits of vengeance and many great miseries and sore strokes upon you. As I have the definition of peace here, it says freedom from disturbance, tranquility, quiet, silence, stillness. And that's what those of us of the hopeful elect are going to have. We're going to have peace in the kingdom. We're going to have freedom from disturbance. We're not going to have to worry about paying bills and how we're going to put food on the table. And we're not going to have to worry about any of these wicked people trying to harm us. We're not going to be stressed out. We're going to be calm. There's not going to be any mental illness in the kingdom. We're not going to be crying, because we've lost our loved ones or something like that. We're going to have physical peace, mental peace, emotional peace, financial peace, spiritual peace. It's just going to be peace all around for us. And this is what the Heavenly Father has thoughts of for us, thoughts of peace, thoughts of tranquility and calm and quiet. It says, and definition 2, a state or period in which there is no war or a war has ended. And this war that Esau has upon us will be over. Because back in Genesis, because of the whole birthright situation, Esau said that he would slay his brother Jacob. And that's what Esau has been doing. He's been killing us. Hanging us, lynching us, burning us, gunning us down in the streets. Esau had declared war upon us. But see, the Lord is about to end that war. And at the end of that war, we are going to be the ones who are victorious. The Israelites. Primarily the elect. But ultimately in the kingdom, all of Israel, who primarily make up the so-called blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, and then all of our people who live in amongst these other nations and look like these other nations, but through the seed line of their father, they are Israelites. It says, peace is a multifaceted concept, meaning a state of calm, harmony, and freedom from conflict, violence, or disturbance. It says, applying to individuals' inner peace, quiet relationships, no quarrels, communities, public order, and nations' absence of war and treaties. It's both a stillness like quiet and a dynamic process of building goodwill, resolving disputes non-violently, and achieving security and well-being. And that's what the Lord has thoughts of for us. If you're in a relationship and you and your partner are always fighting, the Lord is going to put an end to all of that. There's not going to be any fighting with your partner in the kingdom. There's not going to be any getting divorced and things like that. That's not going to happen. We're going to be in perfect harmony with each other. The men are going to be allowed to lead and the women are going to follow. There's not going to be any questions. There's not going to be any, back and forth about it. Everything is just going to play out the way the Heavenly Father set it up to be. There's not going to be any more nations going to war with each other. There's not going to be any world wars. In our communities, there's not going to be any more violence. Our kids won't be, hurting each other. The men won't be hurting each other. The women won't be hurting each other. We're all going to be on the same page. We're going to treat each other like brothers and sisters, like how we were always supposed to. These are the thoughts that the Lord has toward us. Thoughts of peace. Galatians 6 and 8. For he that soweth to his flesh shall of the flesh reap corruption, but he that soweth to the Spirit shall of the Spirit reap life everlasting. And that's what those of us of the hopeful elect want to do. We want to sow to the Spirit so that we can reap life everlasting. We want the kingdom. We want perfection. We want to be able to serve the Lord fully. We don't ever want to go off again. We don't ever want to have to endure everything that our people have been having to endure. We don't want to lose our godlike status and, be brought down and be under these heathens, have to suffer, the ridicule and the abuse from these heathens. We don't want to have to deal with that anymore. And soon we won't have to, but we have to continue to endure in this faith. We have to continue to sow to the Spirit. Verse 9, and let us not be weary in well-doing, for in due season we shall reap if we faint not. And that's right. And if you've been paying attention and you see all the different things that are happening on the earth, the fires, the storms, the tempests, the earthquakes, the volcano eruptions, the power outages, the tension building between all these nations, how war, whether it's race wars, civil wars, or world war, is very much a card or cards on the table. Like, that we are living in the last days, and the Lord is about to let all hell break loose. There's about to be so much chaos and violence upon this earth, the likes of which the world has never experienced before and will never experience again. But see, the Lord, he's going to protect us from these things if we don't faint, if we endure unto the end, if we keep that mindset, if we continue watching and reading and praying and fasting and rehearsing the righteous acts daily and following the law, statutes, and commandments to the best of our ability and fearing the Lord. As long as we stay locked in, we're gonna reap life everlasting. We're gonna reap the kingdom of heaven. But we can't faint. We can't put our hand to the plow and look back. We have to just keep our minds set on the kingdom, on enduring unto the end, on getting to that light at the end of the tunnel. And we can see it. Those of us of the hopeful elect, we can see the light. And every day we get closer and closer to the end of that tunnel. But we know that things are about to get a whole lot rougher out here, because the Lord, he has to test us. That's what Jacob's trouble is. Jacob's trouble is that last test. And we all have to go through it. Those of us of the hopeful elect and, these wicked people, the whole world is going to get put through it. But see, those of us of the hopeful elect, Adawan Ratazah, we are of the elect. The Lord has already slated for us to endure unto the end and be saved. So we're going to get through that. And that's the mindset that we have to have, is that we're going to get through it. As long as we continue to trust in the Lord and just focus on pleasing the Lord, doing righteous works that are pleasing in the sight of the Lord, he's going to make sure that we're always taken care of. And while we're here in this wicked system, He's going to chastise us, but he's also going to bring us through it. See, the Lord, he tests us to see what we're going to do when we are put in certain situations. Like, are we going to turn carnal, start putting our trust and our confidence in ourselves or in man, or are we going to continue to trust in him to guide us and to protect us and to provide for us? That's where patience comes into play. When it comes to patience, you have to endure suffering, endure long suffering. There are days where you're going to go without eating. You might lose your job close to the time where your rent is due and you don't know how you're going to pay it, But instead of freaking out, you just trust in the Lord. You trust that the Lord, he's going to take care of you. He's going to make a way for you. So long as you trust in him and you continue to fear him and you continue to send up prayers towards him. Because that's what the Lord wants. The Lord wants us to lean on him, to depend on him, to trust in him. Because like I've said many times before, the Lord is the one who placed us in this situation. And he's the only one that can get us out of it. And we have to keep that in mind. You see, these wicked people, they don't understand that. They don't understand that the Lord placed them in whatever situation that they're in. So they think, if they work hard enough, they can get out of it. If they trust Esau enough, he'll get them out of it. That's what they think. They're thinking carnally. They're thinking either Esau is going to get them out of it or they're going to get themselves out of it, instead of them trusting in the Lord and doing right in the eyes of the Lord, with the faith that the Lord is going to deliver them out of whatever situation that they're in. And that's where those of us of the hopeful elect have the advantage, that we know why we're in these predicaments that we find ourselves in. This is our punishment from the Lord because we went off. We were eating abominable foods and worshiping other gods and just doing things that seriously angered the Lord. So we had to be punished. But see, those of us of the hopeful elect, we're turning back from our wicked ways. And we're seeking the Lord. And the Lord, he's dealing with us in return. And the more that we, deal with the Lord, the more he deals with us. But we have to understand that everything happens on the Lord's time. We don't do anything of our own, quote unquote, free will. We move when the Lord wants us to move. Things happen when he wants things to happen. So you could pray for something and it doesn't happen until a week, a month, a year later, because it's not up to us when things happen. It's up to the Heavenly Father. And sometimes the Heavenly Father will prolong whatever it is that you want because he wants to see how long you're willing to endure. Like, are you willing to endure a year of not getting what you wanted, even though you might really want it, or to an extent you might even need it? Are you gonna keep that understanding that the Heavenly Father knows what you need. He knows what you need and he knows when you need it. So you thinking that you need something right then and there, but the Heavenly Father, he knows that you don't need it right then and there because he's the one who placed you in that situation. He's the one that set everything up. He knows when you need something. So it's like, are you willing to endure, not having the satisfaction of getting what you want until the Heavenly Father is ready to give it to you? Or are you going to be carnal and try to make it happen by yourself? See, those of us of the hopeful elect, we're always going to trust in the Lord and be like, okay, whatever I prayed for, it didn't happen right then and there. Maybe if the Heavenly Father wants to, if that's what he has intended for me, then he will grant me what I want later on down the line at some point, whenever that is. But the one thing you can't do is rush the Heavenly Father. He moves on his own time. And we have to keep that in mind. As much as those of us of the hopeful elect want this place to be destroyed, and we want these wicked people to be destroyed, and we want the kingdom of heaven, as much as we want these things, the Heavenly Father, he knows what we want. And in due time, he's going to grant us that. He's going to grant us the things that we want. But we have to endure. We have to remain patient. We have to continue to suffer. It says patience is the capacity to calmly endure delays, suffering, or annoyance without complaint, anger, or frustration. And that's what those of us of the hopeful elect have to do. We have to calmly endure dealing with these wicked people. We have to calmly endure and constantly endure, our spirit being vexed at the wickedness of these people, their wicked conversation, their wicked actions, just all the things that we see, all the misery and the death and the destruction and the chaos. We have to continue to endure that. You have people around you that get on your nerves. You just want them to be gone, whether they move away somewhere or the Lord takes them off the earth. You just want them gone. We have to continue to suffer that. Like it says, patience is the capacity to calmly endure delays, suffering, or annoyance without complaint, anger, or frustration. So no matter what we're going through, we have to keep in mind the Lord put us here. This is our punishment. We deserve this. We went off. We provoked the Heavenly Father unto wrath. This is us reaping what we have sown. But on the flip side of that, if we continue to endure calmly and we continue to serve the Lord fervently and diligently and trust in him and fear him, then in due season, we're going to reap the kingdom of heaven, life everlasting, and eternal peace. So with that, I'm going to wrap it up here. In closing, I want to give all the praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. Tawadi Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai for putting the spirit on me to do this lesson. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Honors to our brothers who are fervently pushing the word in sincerity and in faith. And shalom to all the sincere believers. Hope you all stay strong, stay safe, stay fervent, stay circumspect, stay prayed up. Adawan Ratazah. Till next time. Shalom.